So I'm gonna call a bit of an. Do we understand the idiom "call an audible"? That's an Americanism. Yeah, it's from American football. The quarterback gets to the line of scrimmage, sees what the defense might be running, and then changes the play at the line of scrimmage. So they have a huddle, they call play, get to the line of scrimmage to run the play, sees the defense, goes, "Ooh, I think I want to do something different." Calls an audible, changes the play at the line of scrimmage. I'm going to call an audible this morning. Hey, all right. So I was prepared. Of the lectionary readings, I was prepared, and I preached at the 8 a.m. from Acts chapter 2, verses 42 and following. But actually, I want to lean in on this whole idea of Jesus says, he's the good shepherd. He's come that we might have life and have it to the full. I want to think about fullness of life. So, before we go any further, just have a little conversation with those around you. Please be sure to include everybody, regardless of age or anything else like that. And if you're introverted, you can listen, but maybe offer something. All right? I want you to start. What is your idea of the good life? Now, please be honest. Don't be like, just sitting with the Lord with my Bible. Now, that might be true, right? That might be true. But that might also be like in the Maldives or something like that, okay, right? Like just be honest about what your stated idea of the good life is, and then I want you to think about, but what do I give my life towards? Think about how to almost do like a quick audit. Like, how do I spend my time? How do I allocate my resources? When do I get stressed out if XYZ doesn't happen? Because that's the good life, or that's the full life. You see what I'm saying? So just have a conversation with those around you. What is fullness of life? What's the good life? What is a full life? Ready? Go. Yeah, this is tough, right? We don't just paddle about in the shallows here at St. John's. All right, take us a few moments to wrap up your conversations. All right. I wonder. We won't do a plenary, but I wonder what maybe some of your conversations were. For some of you, a full life might be something like, you know what? When I know all the bills are paid. This month's going to be a good month. The bills are paid, and actually there's a little bit left over. Maybe got ourselves a little bit of a treat in the fridge or in the freezer for after tea. That's the good life. Simple things. It's when I can clock in and clock out. And it's just simple, uncomplicated. That's a full life for me. Some of you guys are like, a full life, man. It's when I can travel and I can go all the places I want to go and have adventures and do and see new things. Some of you are like, no, a full life is just when I can walk into my house and everything is decent and in order. It's all clean and calm. That's the full life, I've got my little Roomba. It just hoovers the whole house while I'm away, and I come back and it's just splendid. If they only made one that dusted as well, that would be ideal. Whatever. It could be that actually your fullness of life is it's just constant activity. Always something new, always something different. And there's the constant movement, challenges, puzzles, whatever. Your idea of fullness of life, it might be having that smoking hot spouse. And everyone here is living the dream then, aren't we, okay? Yeah, all right. So it could be whatever. Your kids are all like A-star, pupils, and they're all playing sport, and they have their musical instrument, and they have their whatever. Everyone's got this sort of vision of fullness of life. Here's what I think is a challenge when we read this verse. Jesus said, I've come that I might have life and have it to the full. And then we superimpose our vision of a full life on what Jesus is saying. And then We have an expectation that Jesus delivers to us our fantasy of a full life. And that if, and dare I say when, that doesn't happen, we become disillusioned with Jesus. We become unsure of the gospel. And we wonder, why the heck am I doing this anyway? Because the full life just isn't happening. And what I want to do is then re-examine this idea of a full life. Is it all the things that we just said? Is it travel? Is it everything's in order? Is it all the bills are paid? Is it everything in the house is just Xanadu? Or is there something else going on here? I think there's something else going on here. Now, before we go any further, I want to tell a little bit of a story about Easter weekend, right? Easter weekend, I ended up doing a lot of work. Me and Kristen and Solomon were helping. I've got this older sort of foster daughter. You've met her before. She was moving. She had to get out of her old flat, right? And so she needed some help. And it was all kind of a bit chaotic that week. And so you guys know I won this game show, and I treated myself. I bought a truck. I'm not saying that to brag, as everyone knows. I bought it. When I bought this truck, I had certain things about it, right, that I wanted. I wanted it to fulfill certain purposes, right? It needed to be ULEZ compliant. It needed to be be able to handle neglect, right? Because I'm not exactly oh yeah, I got to get the oil change kind of guy. Imagine that, right? Right? It had to be just kind of invincible. It had to last a long time. I needed to get it a canopy for it because I wanted to be able to put stuff in there to stay dry. Right? I wanted a place for my dog to go, not in the cab where he can go with his muddy paws and his wet fur and just be a dog, and that's fine, and he's not going to jump out. But I didn't want a hard canopy because I wanted to be able to well, what if I've got something that's too big for the hard top? I don't want to have to take a hard top. That's just tricky. I wanted a soft canvas canopy so I could fold it back, right? And I could really load this thing up. I had all these ideas of how this truck was going to be really useful to me over a long period of time. So I picked out the truck, and I got the canvas canopy. I got everything. I got it all set up. So I'm like, this is what I wanted. And that week, that weekend, I got to fulfill the purpose of my truck, right? I'm taking things to the tip. I'm taking things to the storage unit. I'm moving things. I'm packing it all up. I'm opening up the canvas and pulling it forward, kind of stack stuff up. And I'm doing all the kinds of things that I really wanted to be able to do and that this truck would be able to accommodate. And while I was doing it, I was there was satisfaction, right? There was satisfaction. This truck is fulfilling its purpose in my life. That is fullness of life for the truck. That is what fullness of life for the truck is. It's to live into its intended purpose. It's to be what it was designed, manufactured, and deployed to be. That's fullness of life for my truck. And that blessed me. And if my truck was a person with personality, I think my truck would have gone, yes. I am truck. I am truck. Why am I telling you this? Well, guys, please just get more little. All right. Why am I saying? Well, what is your and my intended purpose? What is it that when we live into it, we go, I am human. I am person. And I am satisfied and gratified and fulfilled because I'm doing precisely what I was intended, designed, and deployed to do. This is fullness of life that Jesus is talking about. Now, here's where I could go one of two directions. Both directions would be satisfying, I think. One direction I would call empty spiritual calories. You know, that's the Boost bar, right? This is the Red Bull energy drink. And the other is going to be like complex carbohydrates. This is like porridge oats in a full English, you know? Something's going to stick to your ribs and sustain you throughout the course of the day. All right? Yeah. Amanda, just praise God. Thank you. Not because it's chilly, but because now you see why we want to do what we want to do. Right? Can I tell you how awkward that is in a funeral? Yeah, it's awkward. It's happened. Not fun. Right? Right? All right. So thank you. Big thank you to all of you who have given and committed to, not just financially, but those of you who have done stuff as well towards this project. Anyway, getting back to the empty calories, the Boost bar, the Red Bull, and then the sort of the hearty meat and potatoes, sort of cottage pie, sort of, this is going to really give you what you need kind of thing. But I don't like cottage pie. You get what I'm saying. Shut up. All right? All right. Over here with the empty calories. God's got some purpose for you, and you're going to be great. You are so amazing, and you're going to do the most amazing things. God's just going to pour his abundance upon you, and you're going to excel at your job, and your kids are going to be great, and you're going to be healthy, and when you're not, we're going to bring healing. And when stuff doesn't go good at work, we're going to rebuke those demons. And we're going to, and you're going to, and they're going to, and you will be so fulfilled in your life. You know that vision you've got of the full life? That and so much more will be yours in Jesus. You overwhelming conqueror, you. Now, is there some truth there? Yeah. There's some truth there. No one believes obvious lies. Is that totally deceptive? No, not totally deceptive, but it's just careful. Tread lightly. Because I know pretty much everyone in the room. And I'm struggling to look around the room and go, who here is just living this challenge-free Xanadu of all of their hopes and dreams ever coming true as a result of their following Jesus? Yeah, awkward crickets, right? Awkward crickets. Is that what Jesus is talking about? I don't think so. I think what Jesus is talking about is to say, actually, what's your created purpose? Not like in this bespoke sense of you as an individual, but what is your created purpose as a human being, created in the image and likeness of God? What is your created purpose as a human being, created in the image and likeness of God? It's a few things. And we've talked about this other times in other ways. I'll recap. And a lot of it we find just right there in the first couple chapters of Genesis. Male and female, humanity was created in God's image and likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and every creeping thing that moves along the ground. There's something wherein you and I are intended to be the extension and the instruments of God's good rule and reign in his creation. We are creation stewards. We are extensions and the mediators of God's good rule and reign. His will being done on earth as it is in heaven. The Lord's Prayer, right? We are the principal sort of executors of that. And when we do that, we give image and likeness to the otherwise invisible God. So that when people would look out at creation, either through the lenses of their eyes or the lens of a tele or microscope or some other instrument, as we examine creation and we go, whoa! Who is responsible for this? What is responsible for this? And we can take the natural scientific sort of atheistic stroke, sort of agnostic route and go, well, no one can know. Okay. Or we can ask a question of that assumption. Can no one know? Is it impossible to be known? If there is someone or something responsible for all of this, who are you? Because I can see your effect, but I can't see you. We as people are to give image and likeness. And I wonder if one of the reasons that people end up atheists and agnostics is simply because we as human beings are not living out our created intention. Because we give image and likeness to the otherwise invisible God. So if we're going to do that, we've got to be familiar with his will, don't we? We've got to be familiar with his will. And his will is outlined for us in actually some pretty specific detail at times in the scripture. And so if we're going to have life and have it to the full, if we're going to fulfill, if we're going to be like, I am human. And I'm realizing what that means. Rather than, the scripture would say, rather than in self-gratification and self-actualization, which is what our culture would encourage, it's in learning about the God in whose image and likeness I am created, learning his will, so that I can live it and mediate it in his world, because that's my intended purpose. And when I don't do that, I'm constantly chasing. When I'm a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, and I'm told, you get to decide, who are you? What are you? I'm like, I can't tie my shoes reliably. I have to be told to brush my teeth. And I'm going to identify who I am independently and then actualize that? You've just pitted me against the realities of the universe. and left me alone to fend for myself in it. Like, I think I'll become anxious, thank you. Right? And there's the rest of us who've been doing it for decades. And we're still kind of going, what do I want to be when I grow up? This idea of radically individualized self-actualization is tearing our souls apart at the seams because we don't, like, it's just an empty, it's a bucket full of holes, and we keep pouring stuff in it, and it keeps pouring out, and we're left like, searching for an identity, searching for a self, searching for something that's a strong enough container to be able to be filled and satisfied. And so in the absence of that, we chase dopamine. When over here is the hearty calories of our created intention by God. But the thing is, God's created intention for us isn't simply just to be functionaries, people who know his will and then do his will and mediate his good rule and reign in creation. Another really central part of being human, and the part that makes that functional aspect actually happen and able to be realized, is being relationally connected to the God who is. To know him, to be known by him. And so Adam and Eve walked with God in the cool of the day. You know, there's been like a hot, sweaty British summer day. We might have a couple coming up, and then we won't have another for another 360 days. Right? Pretty soon, all the social media is going to be like, RIP British summer. Right? But you know when it's been a bit hotter than normal, even inside it's a bit sweltering, a bit suffocating, and then the sun starts to, dusk hits, sun starts to go down, and the cool breeze starts to kick in, you're like, ooh, let's go for a little walk. Let's sit out in the garden. You know, let's just enjoy the cool of the day. And that's that time when God meets with Adam and Eve. This time of refreshment. After work is done, before the next day's work begins. Of course, in the Jewish mind, the new day begins at sundown, doesn't it? So it's even before the next day. At the conclusion of one and before the next begins, it's that time together of refreshment and knowing one another. To be fully human, just like my truck, when tailgate was down, the canvas top was pushed forward, and it's filled to the brim with stuff, for the storage unit or the tip. And my truck is trucking. You human being. You are a human being when you are in relationship with the God who is. And out of that fellowship, learning his will, made clear in his word, so that you and I can mediate his good rule and reign in his world. And when we're doing that, we are being human. We are human being. And that is fullness of life. And in a world that throughout your scroll and throughout your feed is imploring you to buy into their vision of the good life and all the dopamine it can give you and all the social standing it might give you and all the ways that you offer your body as a living sacrifice to those things, to your work, to make enough money to go to the Maldives. You offer your body to the stress of trying to control your environment. You offer your body to all of these pursuits, and it just leaves you empty. We can say, no, that's empty calories. That's Red Bull. That's a Boost bar. That's a deception. And to infer or expect Jesus to make those things come true, because it would truly be miraculous for that to be fulfilling, is to put the wrong expectation on Jesus, to set yourself up to be disappointed in him and be disillusioned with his gospel. Rather, we can say to be human is to know God, be known by him, to know his will, and to live his will. It will be tough, but then we will be human fully. Let's stand as we prepare for our time.